Hey everybody, Bobby Schneider here, joined by Sam Ojeda, following Nebraska's 38-27 victory over Michigan State. Sam, just what were your initial takeaways? This game was going back and forth. Michigan State takes the lead in the third quarter, but the Huskers, I believe 24 unanswered points before Michigan State scored late.
Yeah, it was a chaotic game. It was a fun game to follow, but I think my main takeaway, despite the win, is that the offensive line could keep Nebraska from even reaching 8 wins. I mean, there's a clear problem with the offensive line. They kind of got the run game going there late a little bit. Now, part of it is on Dylan Raiola. He is holding the ball too long. He's stepping up into sacks. But unfortunately, my main takeaway is a negative.
Yeah, you mentioned that I believe Dylan Raiola was sacked 5 times. I think around 2 of them were definitely on him for holding the ball too long, but clearly they tried Elijah Pritchett at left tackle. They moved Gunnar to the right, and they still had errors. Elijah Pritchett with the false start. But on the bright side, special teams, I think, was the deciphering factor in this one. Of course, Nebraska gets the blocked punt by Jameer Khan. Carter Nelson scores. And then later in the game, they kick it into the wind, and the wind brings it back, and Nebraska gets that fumble recovery. And then, of course, Corey Barney. Just talk about him today.
Yeah, I mean, he was explosive, and not only on special teams, but also in the pass game. I mean, he was open, he was receiving the ball. He did have the one drop, but in special teams, he was absolutely dynamic. I mean, he has a knack for being patient. There was multiple punt returns. On the punt return that he returned to the end zone but got called back because of the Carter Nelson block in the back, he waited a solid 2 seconds before deciding where he was going to run with the ball. He let the blocks gather. He let it happen before he really took off. And I think that shows not necessarily how athletic he is, but his maturity and his IQ and willingness to wait for the play to happen.
Yeah, and Nebraska still hasn't found an established rushing attack. I know Emmett Johnson had, I believe, around over 80 yards on the day, but behind him, there's still nobody really emerging. And Nebraska also had limited possessions of the first half due to the block punt, and Michigan State controlled the time possession in the first half. But I think on the bright side, if you're a Nebraska fan looking back, Nebraska was trailing in the third quarter. They have the 24 unanswered points, and they go to get away with a victory. And I think you look at now Maryland, a team that just came off a heartbreaking loss to Washington. I believe it was 24-20 the final score. What's your initial impressions of Maryland?
Yeah, I think unfortunately, Nebraska's going to have to face another athletic quarterback. Malik Washington has shown that he has a level of dynamic athleticism. I don't think it's anything like Aiden Childs or a Bryce Underwood, but I think it's enough to where Nebraska's going to have to think for sure, and they're going to have to figure out, again, how to contain a QB scramble. But I'm not as worried about it just because of how, for lack of a better term, incredible the pass defense is.
Yeah, when you mentioned the pass defense, pass rush was key. They were getting in the backfield. I know Childs beat him on some plays, but that was bound to happen. But anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm Bobby Schneider. This is Sam Ojeda reporting from Lincoln.